This session is in conversation, and they're going to be on insights on generative AI, game changer or security threat. The talking points in this session, with the widespread adoption of AI language models and adjacent technologies, concerns around data privacy and security have reached a fever pitch. What are the security implications of generative AI for the BFSI sector, albeit the benefits? Are we seeing AI-based tools lowering the bar for hackers from a banking perspective? Concerns around lack of regulation and its pertinence to the industry as a whole, and communication around Gen AI, threat intel from an industry and geopolitical perspective, and its larger risk to the organization. So these are some of the wonderful pointers that shall be discussed in this conversation. We're just getting the stage set to invite our next speakers who are going to be joining us. So allow us another few seconds. And for the people who've just come in, thank you so much for joining us. We have a packed house today, which is great to see. With this, if you do find any pointers that are discussed interesting, please make sure to tweet them across. And if you have clicked any pictures, please do upload them, just to let everybody know that you did attend it. With that, may I please invite our two speakers for this session. Would you be kind enough to please welcome them with a huge round of applause? They're already walking up to stage. Mr. Amol Bhat, Partner, PwC, and Mr. Ashwani Mishra, Editor, Technology, ET Edge. With this, I'd like to hand it over to the expertise of our speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Imanji. Right. Thank you, Amitabh sir, for setting the context, evolution of warfare. That was quite interesting, So he spoke about gunpowder to atom bomb and then artificial intelligence that's used extensively in today's warfare. Right, Amol, thank you for being here. I will quickly set the context in terms of what I have seen when I talk to technology and digital leaders in the BFSI space. Primarily, I've found that they're dealing with four key areas. The first is how they can rewire and reshape themselves, take advantage of a digital, cloud-based, mobile-centric world, bring advanced technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning inside their systems. Second is how they can leverage massive amounts of data and bring advanced analytics, not just in an algorithmic sense, but in a more human sense so that people have the capacity to use it. The third is how they can partner with the digital ecosystem out there, create new products, new services, and at times new business models to drive growth. And the fourth area, which again encompasses all the three areas that I've spoken about, is security. How do they protect the data at all times? The topic under consideration is generative AI, and it has been the talk for the last 11 months or so, right from the boardrooms to the classrooms. Amol, how is generative AI, when we talk of security especially, what kind of benefits or what kind of advantages do you see generative AI being, bringing in for BFSI sector?
No, sure. So I think as a technology, it's the fastest adopted technology across the world. So for example, ChatGPT, million users within, I think, 2.5 days or something like that. That's, right. That's mind-boggling just from an adoption perspective. So it is about new data models, right? So something which will create new data. And when we look at institutions adopting generative AI, I think businesses have done well to kind of look at different use cases and say that, hey, look, this is what it can solve from me from a organizational problem statement, process problem statement, or even for that matter, a decision-making problem statement that I have, which is live here and now.
Right.
So when I start applying this to, let's say, any of the security problems, and I'm just kind of hypothesizing a few things here. So let's say I want to know what kind of access will get granted to a group of users when I provision something. And today, if I have to really, I will say model it, or if I have to really kind of create a scenario analysis, it's very difficult. But if I have to now apply generative AI to this problem statement, so let's say I have a high fidelity data of what are the users groups in the institution. The second set that I have is high fidelity data around what are the technologies, devices, methods that I can use to kind of log in. The third high fidelity data that I have is, let's say I have a network, I have network segmentations, I know where, what, and how much deep can I kind of really go with a certain access from a network segment to network segment. If I have to now create or really kind of have to train a model, and this has to be trained, right? You won't have anything readily available. But let's say I really now start training the model to say that, look, when the network means this, this is what can happen. When an identity means this, this is what can happen. When a device means this, this is something that I will build in. Now, if I train the model this way, and if I have to now say that when I create a new group of users with a certain privilege, what will really happen? The generative AI will really give me that answer even before something can go wrong. Now, this kind of an analysis, if we are able to build, that will be a game changer from a security perspective. I'm not saying it's easy, right? I'm just giving an example of what I think, how we could apply generative AI. But that is something that as professionals, we really need to kind of think towards or really build ourselves towards, because that will really be the best way to use generative AI from a security context. All we are saying is something that I cannot visualize based on my current tools. Can I get high fidelity data from different solutions, triage them and really create a view to say that, okay, with this, I am able to now envision that this is the new data that I can look based on the principles, data sets, and logics that I've kind of tutored the engine with. So I think that is the way possibly security users could start using generative AI. As we've seen with ChatGPT and everything, the accuracy may go up and down depending on what's getting ingested, how it's getting tutored, all of that. So all of that the guardrails need to be there. But this is the way I think we could start our journey in terms of the whole magic of generative AI for security.
Absolutely. So out of curiosity, just wanted to check, since we have tech and security leaders sitting here in the room, how many of you are looking at Gen AI, especially from the security piece? If there could be a show of hands, it will really help. Very few, I guess. So, or many don't want to comment on it, right? Amol, we also see adversaries using AI.
Yes.
And Amitabh sir did mention about how the adversaries are using it to great effect. Now, how does good AI fight with bad AI?
That's a very complex question. So I think it is at the end of the day, the human cognitive intelligence cannot be taken out of any conversations. The methods that are being used from outside in, we have to continuously evolve ourselves to say that how am I going to cognitively think better and ahead of what my adversary is really going to do? Is there a right or wrong answer? Is there a perfect answer? Is there a right solution? Very difficult to kind of comment on because it depends on the context, the data, the fidelity or the guarantee of how true that information is, and what's the chatter which is available to my adversary but not available to me. Because certain things will remain under the radar or below the ground or outside of the normal IP internet, which if I am not able to get it, I am not able to infuse it as part of my intelligence, if I am not going to be able to consume that data, right, then we are not going to win the war. And exactly as Sir said just in the previous conversation, it's about how do I build my defenses using the cognitive analysis that I have as an individual, but then feed and tute and really infuse the right data sets, information, and ability in the AI to really kind of do what we want to do to really protect ourselves against the adversaries. And that is how it will evolve. Now, the context of the organization will be different. The way your perimeters are set up, that could be different. There could be many other variables, all of that given. Those are the things that I think one needs to really think
Amol,
through.
just basis your experience and you interact with a lot of CIOs, CISOs across. Do you see AI capabilities being used for behavioral analysis, threat monitoring, fraud detection kind of scenarios?
See, for example, if I have to look at 4 or 5 scenarios in the FS world, let's say insurance underwriting is a big area where Gen AI or AI or Some of these large language models, in my view, are already getting used very, very effectively. If I have to look at FS, I think the transaction fraud is the biggest area where, from a business perspective, this will be getting used, and it's being used. If I have to look at wealth management, the entire portfolio analysis that is done today, there's so much of data, there's so much of balance sheet information that is available. It's really impossible for humans to consume it across different sets and make a large model to say, this is the model that's my portfolio is going to look at. And those are some areas where obviously people have started using it, whether it's structured, unstructured data. But as FS as an industry, I think underwriting risk, fraud prevention from a transaction monitoring, all of that is already on. I think as a journey, it is always that the business adopts some of the emerging technologies the first, and later is when the security and the internal processes would really take it up. And that's true with even the low code, no code, right? The first thing happened on the low code, no code was some of the internal business processes that got automated, and then it was ingested in different areas from that sense. So if I have to now look at where is security going to use it, I think, again, just an example today, large institutions, DLP events, there could be thousands of events, humanly impossible to really make any sense out of it. But if I am able to use this technology to create scattered graph to say this time, this set, this type of data is what I look at on a 4x4 matrix and say, okay, this is the area that I want to start looking at going after. And that is some things that will have to be evolved by institutions. There's no right answer because the models are there for you to train. So ChatGPT was trained for whatever purpose it is coming. But eventually, if you have to apply it for a specific problem, A, you need to define the problem well. B, you need to have the data that you want. C, when the hypothesis is built, you need to kind of fine-tune it to kind of really align it to your purpose. Then you kind of fine-tune, put the guardrails, make sure that there's enough privacy built in, and that is when you can use it. So I think DLP would be one area where this could be quickly used. It can also be used when you have to triage data in unstructured format, which is like I have an AppSec data, I have a VA data somewhere, I have a WAF information somewhere, they're logs and they're sitting in different systems, and possibly I can use triaging and some of the newest techniques to really kind of look at it. So those could be some areas or methods. I believe that organizations will start using them as we move forward.
Absolutely. Again, now zero trust as a concept, as a framework, has been getting a lot of attention. Enterprises have started on that journey as well. How do you see Gen AI, supporting the zero trust journey?
So I think as I explained in the first one, can I create a data model or can I create a new data which will tell me what happens when, let's say there's a device compromised or a user compromised or both of them are compromised, or when I remove a certain trust quotient on a certain factor in the whole value chain and really model it to say what really happens. And that's the way it will essentially get used. But again, it goes back to my first example is how much data do you have and what's the relatability of that data and what is the new data that you're going to generate based on that data. And that is all dependent on what is the problem statement that you're really trying to solve in that sense.
Absolutely. Right. Any questions from the audience here, for Amol, if we have time, so I can take a couple of them. Yes, ma'am. Can we have the mic here, please?
Hello. Myself, Kavita Dwivedi from Tata Consultancy Services. We have been using advanced analytics, artificial intelligence for behavioral analysis for a while now. I want to understand how does Gen AI kind of take us a step forward in this direction, because fraud detection has become really a very, very difficult task considering that digitization and automation in that area itself has created a lot of challenges.
No, I think it's the structure, right? AI, ML, then the whole factor around or whatever the generative AI, you have to look at in that value chain and look at what value chain are you really working at this time, and what's the value add when you move from an AI to an ML, from an ML to a generative AI. So if you look at that model, and if you believe that going from that AI to the next level is beneficial, then those are the solutions, or those are the technologies, or those are the investments that you will have to really look at. Now, the purpose that you are trying to solve is very critical, because see, if I look at any security solution today, everybody will say that there's an AI built in. And that's a common, I'm not undermining the capabilities, but I'm saying that the basic AI techniques are already inbuilt, but those are for use cases that the specific solution is built for. It is not customized for what you are looking at. So if you have to progressively go to the next level, then you have to A, know what is the hypothesis that you want to solve, and B, what is the best technology and what's the best high fidelity data that is available for you to really take it there. So you will have to really look at in the value chain where you are and really go to the next value chain level with whatever hypothesis that you really want to solve. That will actually kind of give you the answer. There is no out-of-box model available which will kind of solve that problem for yourself, because most of the models in the technologies will be for the purpose for which the technology or a solution was built. SIM will have their own AI models. Some of the new perimeter devices, security controls will have their own AI models, but those are for that specific purpose, not necessarily like a ChatGPT or any kind of generative AI kind of embedded in that. So that will need different solutions clearly. Your existing solutions may not be equipped to really get to that level in that sense.
Thank you, sir.
Right, quickly, sir, please, yes.
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen. So my question is for Gen AI, how much, investment versus risk? So what do you suggest, how to start with, for security purpose?
No, I think the fundamental principles remain the same. Is it being used for ethical purposes? What's the confidentiality index built on the data? What's the sensitivity of the data? And what are the guardrails that you really want to build? It is all about these 3-4 principles that you have to bake in as part of any solution that you will build. As long as those principles are getting met, then I think the businesses or whatever, whether we are using it for a security purpose or a business purpose, then I think enough freedom should be provided to the users to say that what do they do, provided the guardrails are not kind of broken. And to that extent, the liberty of operating may be given. The question of whether it's something on cloud, on-prem, what's the data ingested, what's the risk, or what's the risk factor with the data getting consumed and all of that, that is something as a journey that we'll have to really evolve. But if we are able to address these 4 principles, then I think it's largely fine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right, thank you. If you have any questions for Amol, I'm sure he's here. We have overshot the cutoff time here. Thank you, Amol, for your insights. It was great
Thanks,
having this
Ashwani.
conversation with you.
Thanks for hosting me, and thank you, everyone. Good interacting with you.